Obi-Wan was a shining example of the Jedi, with Anakin, his apprentice, being the one surrounded in darkness. What if the tables were turned? Strap yourselves in, because today we're looking at what would have happened if Obi-Wan turned to the dark side. Just a heads up, this isn't going to go quite the way you think. Darkness had descended upon the Republic. The Clone Wars had torn through the galaxy like a wildfire, leaving nothing but ash and ruin in its wake. The Jedi Order was struggling to keep up with the threat from the Separatists and the Shadow of the Sith. In what should have been the final days of the Clone Wars, Obi-Wan Kenobi alongside many other Jedi were beginning to feel the weight of their duties more so than ever before. After the death of Count Dooku, command of the largest droid army the galaxy had ever seen fell to General Grievous, who had just fled to the Utapau system. Upon receiving clone intelligence, Obi-Wan tracked Grievous to Utapau and witnessed the Separatist summit taking place in a hangar below. As the Separatist leaders left for the safety of Mustafar, General Kenobi dropped down from the hangar.
Hello there.
General Kenobi!
With the timing and manner of Dooku's death still fresh in the mind of Grievous, he took no chances and immediately ordered all present droids to fire upon the Jedi. For a time, Obi-Wan managed to hold his own, successfully deflecting the onslaught of blaster fire coming his way, taking out a number of droids in the process. However, as the minutes passed, Obi-Wan became more and more fatigued. His reactions began to slow. His breathing laboured. Eventually, a shot penetrated his defence, striking him just above his right knee, causing him to stumble. With his guard lowered, he was then struck twice more in a matter of seconds, once in the right arm, causing him to fall back, and again in the shoulder as he was falling to the ground. As the droids began to close in on the severely injured Obi-Wan, the clone troopers that had assisted Obi-Wan on the mission, led by Commander Cody, came to his rescue, where another fight broke out, this time between the clones and the Separatist droids. As the fighting raged on, General Grievous took this opportunity to escape yet again. As Obi-Wan lay there severely injured and unable to help his troops, he could do nothing but listen to the chaos that ensued around him. As he flickers in and out of consciousness, his friend Commander Cody was the first to come to his aid.
General.
Cody's lifeless body fell next to Obi-Wan as he lay there helpless. He was unable to save his right-hand man, who was just the latest in a long line of Jedi, soldiers and civilians to fall during the Clone Wars. As he lay there, he felt a surge of anger and hatred towards the Sith, who he saw as responsible for the many avoidable deaths over the years. It was in that moment that the dark side of the Force began to call to him. He could feel its seductive power, promising him the strength and power he needed to take revenge on the Sith. Slowly, Obi-Wan began to give in to the darkness, allowing it to consume him. As the fighting around him ceased, with the clones coming out victorious, he returned to Coruscant a different man. He was cold, withdrawn, and consumed by a desire for greater power. Due to what transpired on Utapau, Obi-Wan remained at the Jedi Temple to heal for a time, whilst the other Jedi, including Anakin, continued with their duties during the war. Hiding his true intentions, the Jedi believed the change in Obi-Wan's behaviour was a result of the trauma he had experienced. However, Jedi Master Yoda sensed something much darker was at play. Over the coming days, Obi-Wan often found himself alone as the other Jedi carried on with their duties. He began to secretly train in the ways of the dark side, believing this was the key to defeat the Sith. With each passing day, Obi-Wan became stronger, achieving a level he never felt possible. As the darkness continued to grow, so did his inability to hide it. Upon returning from his latest mission, Master Yoda walked into the council chambers to find Obi-Wan, his back turned and peering through a window at the city below.
Waited for this moment I have. Talk alone, we shall.
Instantly, Obi-Wan knew that his secret had been discovered. He took in a deep breath and became aware of his hand edging ever closer towards his lightsaber hanging from his belt. Resisting what the Force seemingly wanted him to do, he turned around to face his former master.
Obi-Wan, the dark side I sense in you.
You're wrong, Master. I've become stronger. I can destroy the Sith and finally put an end to this war.
Stronger? Only with the dark side. Such a path you have chosen. Only pain it leads to.
Obi-Wan was undeterred. If you'll excuse me, Master, I have some things I need to attend to. As Obi-Wan walked towards the exit, a deeply concerned Yoda told him,
A Jedi you are no longer. The dark side you have succumbed to.
Obi-Wan quipped back, Your arrogance blinds you, Master Yoda. How many millions have to suffer before the Jedi actually take some meaningful action, rather than just sitting around in the council chambers waiting to be destroyed? As he made his way towards his ship, he came to the realization that the Jedi were too weak to defeat the Sith, and that only he, with his newfound power, could save the galaxy for what's to come. Unbeknownst to Obi-Wan, Master Yoda wasn't the only one that could sense the darkness rising within him. Palpatine had also felt it. This presented Palpatine with the unique opportunity to turn Anakin to the dark side and remove his attachments to Kenobi in one swift stroke. A few weeks passed and Obi-Wan had yet to return to the Jedi Temple. Instead, he went to the only other place he could remotely call home, the planet Styugen, the homeworld he left when he was just a boy. Once on the planet, he began to continue learning more about his newfound power, further strengthening his connection to the dark side of the Force, whilst also venturing out into the war, undertaking his own missions in a bid to gain intel on the true identity of Darth Sidious, determined to eradicate the Sith from the galaxy and end the war once and for all. As the war raged on throughout the galaxy, the conflict within Anakin also continued to rise. Not only was he tormented by the brutal death of his mother, but he was also struggling to come to terms with losing Obi-Wan. All the while, he was secretly being groomed by Palpatine for the role of Sith apprentice. With the Jedi struggling now more than ever, the decision was made to finally grant Anakin the rank of Master, to accompany his position on the Council.
You are on this council. We grant you the rank of Master.
I understand.
But also as a reward for not following in his old master's footsteps. As word began to spread throughout the Order of Obi-Wan's continued involvement in the war, he began to amass followers, other Jedi who had also become tired of the lack of real direction shown by the Council and had opened themselves up to the possibility that the only path to victory was through ways forbidden to the Jedi. Alerted to the unfolding crisis within the Order, the Jedi Council held an emergency meeting to discuss the rising threat that Kenobi and his followers posed to the Republic and the wider galaxy through their dark side methods. Due to the identity of the Sith Lord still unknown, Yoda signed off on a difficult decision to make neutralizing this new threat as their highest priority, believing it could potentially reveal to them the true face behind the war. Little did Obi-Wan and his followers realize they were playing right into the Sith's hands. Becoming aware of the growing rift within the Jedi, Palpatine sensed the opportunity to exploit it and began to ramp up his plan of eradicating the Order from the galaxy, all without revealing his true identity. It was at this time he began to manipulate Anakin's dreams, showing him visions of his old master practicing in the ways of the dark side, whilst also showing him visions of Padme dying through childbirth, with Obi-Wan looking over her with a vacant expression on his face. But the Dark Lord didn't stop there, as he also began to manipulate Obi-Wan's dreams, filling his mind with a war against the Jedi and a confrontation with his former Padawan, Anakin Skywalker. Palpatine's plan was coming together. The Jedi Order was broken from within more so than ever before, and the once strong bond between Obi-Wan and Anakin was beginning to come loose at the seams, with Obi-Wan believing Anakin was in a plot against him, and Anakin believing Obi-Wan would go on to play a role in Padme's death. As time went on, Obi-Wan received a surprise communication from General Grievous in the form of a hologram, offering him a meeting to discuss a possible resolution to the war that had plagued the galaxy for over 3 years, costing countless lives, including many of which he cared deeply about. But this offer wasn't all it seemed. Going alone as was agreed, Obi-Wan entered the abandoned hangar on the planet of Teon, a neighbouring planet to Raxus, the Separatist capital, to find Grievous, accompanied by a mysterious cloaked figure standing in the background. He sensed a trap. As Obi-Wan reached into the Force to try and find the truth in what was unfolding, he came to the realization that this mysterious figure was in fact Darth Sidious, who he now knew was Palpatine all along. Allowing his anger to get the better of him, which by this time was happening all the more, Obi-Wan jumped forward and attacked the Sith Lord. Grievous sprang to his defense with all 4 blades ignited against his one. The pair began to engage in a heated battle, but before long Obi-Wan found his more offensive form he had been practicing was leaving him too vulnerable to attacks. Realizing he was only increasing his disadvantage, he reverted back to his usual form 3 to concentrate mainly on defense and seize each and every opportunity to land a blow on the Klee cyborg, dismembering his cybernetic limbs one at a time. Once all 4 arms were removed, Obi-Wan acted quickly to swipe his legs, removing any possibility of Grievous mounting another escape. A loud clang echoed around the hangar, accompanied by the sound of robotic coughing and groaning as the leader of the droid army fell to the floor.
Good, Master Kenobi. Great wisdom and power I sense in you. Our shared interests make us quite similar. I'm nothing like you. I intend to end this war and the Sith with it. I too want to end the war, but the corruption within the Senate and the Jedi makes peace impossible. The time of the Jedi is over. They have lost their way. Master Qui-Gon sensed it. Now bring around their own demise, and the only corruption within the Senate is you. You really think the Jedi will allow someone with your power to operate freely in the galaxy?
Obi-Wan remembered the dreams he had been having.
No. The next move is against me. I will do what I must. Do what must be done, Obi-Wan. Destroy General Grievous. End this war.
Although hesitant to admit it, Palpatine was right. Destroying General Grievous would almost certainly put an end to the Separatist movement. With Palpatine as his next target, Obi-Wan plunged his lightsaber into the chest of General Grievous, piercing his heart as he let out his last robotic gasp. Obi-Wan turned to face the Dark Lord directly, and in a moment of pure rage, launched himself towards the Sith Lord. Palpatine simply raised a hand and blasted the former Jedi with a bolt of Force lightning, sending him hurtling back onto the floor. Palpatine crept closer. Menacing grin crept upon his face as he launched another Force Lightning assault on the stunned Obi-Wan, and another, before Palpatine lowered his hand, offering him one last chance before ending him once and for all. Realizing the true extent of Palpatine's power, and the mistake he had made in underestimating it, Obi-Wan Kenobi rises from the ashes, his body singed and his mind reeling from the revelation. Palpatine's words echoed in his head. It was true that the Jedi outnumbered him and his followers, but instead of succumbing to defeat, Obi-Wan sees an opportunity to gain the upper hand. He bows before the Sith Lord, ready to embrace the dark side and learn Palpatine's teachings, not only to defeat the Jedi and bring peace to the galaxy, but also to gain the power he needs to destroy the Sith. Good. Rise, Kenobi. Prove yourself a worthy apprentice. Go to the Mustafar system with your band of former Jedi. Wipe out Viceroy Gunray and the other separatist leaders. Achieve your goal of bringing peace to the galaxy. Yes, Master. Palpatine's grand plan is now nearing its climax. As Kenobi departs for Mustafar with his followers, Palpatine leaks news of the plan to the Republic and to the Jedi Council. The Jedi, scattered across the galaxy, are called to make their way to the volcanic planet. Unsure of what awaits them or whether it's a trap, they are determined to ensure they have enough numbers to face any threat. Little do they know this is exactly what Palpatine was counting on.
Execute Order 66.
All clone troopers were immediately redirected to Mustafar, where they would await the vast amounts of Jedi making their way. Palpatine's aim was to lure as many Jedi as possible into one location for the clones and his new apprentice, Obi-Wan, to destroy them. With many of the Jedi already en route, they were unaware of the clone betrayal until they arrived on Mustafar. Obi-Wan and his followers had already begun scouring the various buildings on the planet, hunting down and killing the separatist leaders one by one as they tried to run and hide for their lives. Within a short amount of time, hundreds of ships emerged from hyperspace above Mustafar and begin to land on the planet's surface. The Jedi, believing they had reinforcements, made their way towards the clones, only to be met with the following words. Shocked by what they were hearing, some Jedi were caught off guard and killed immediately, whilst the majority of them acted quickly enough to draw their blades and defended themselves. As the Jedi and the clones locked into a heated battle, Yoda, Mace, and Anakin diverted their attention away from the fight, gaining entry into the building that was being guarded. As they walked the corridors searching for any sign of life, they walked past various bodies of slain separatist leaders, confirming to them the intel was correct. Kenobi is here. They eventually make their way to the center of the structure, the control room of the lava mine, where they encounter Obi-Wan and half a dozen of his followers waiting for them. Obi-Wan and Anakin make eye contact. Many in the room can sense the rising anger radiating from Skywalker. Stand down, Obi. Anakin cuts in.
This is the end for you, my master.
As he lunges himself at Kenobi, their lightsabers clash. Mace and Yoda's lightsabers ignite, and so do those of Obi-Wan's followers, with Anakin aggressively attacking Obi-Wan, releasing a previously untapped rage, fighting for Padme's life. Obi-Wan almost matches the aggression from the level of betrayal he felt from his former Padawan, whilst Yoda and Mace continue to fight Kenobi's followers 6-2, holding their own pretty well. Obi-Wan and Anakin's fight is erratic, eventually pushing itself outside of the building onto the balcony overlooking the lava below. With the lava becoming more and more unstable by the second, it begins to erupt onto the balcony in which the two are fighting upon, temporarily separating them, giving Obi-Wan the opportunity to tell Anakin what he really thought about him. You're no Jedi Master, you're corrupted like the rest of them. Qui-Gon was wrong to take you in. He should have left you in the sand where you belong. Anakin's eyes begin to swell as the anger erupts within him quicker than the lava below. He grips his weapon and throws it towards Kenobi, believing it would catch him off guard, only for Obi-Wan to stop it mid-air and force pull it into his own hands. Your anger blinds you, Padawan, as it always has. Anakin, now completely enraged and seeing nothing but darkness himself, attempts to jump over Obi-Wan with such speed he can reclaim his weapon from behind, only for Obi-Wan to perfectly judge his movements and strike him down, dismembering his legs and one of his arms. Obi-Wan looks down at Anakin as he groans in pain. I thought I taught you better than that. Goodbye, old friend. As he uses his foot to push what's left of Anakin off the balcony onto the shore below, Obi-Wan was certain that his former apprentice will soon be engulfed by the aggressive and uncontrollable lava. The heat and intensity of the lava below is palpable as Anakin tumbles down the rocky slope, his screams echoing in Obi-Wan's ears. As he watches, he is consumed by a mix of emotions, regret that it had come to this, but also a sense of relief that the war was finally over. The once great Jedi Master is now a shell of his former self, his mind fractured by the seduction of the dark side. Mace Windu and Yoda sense the grave danger Skywalker is in. They immediately go to his aid to rescue him. Despite the Jedi's valiant efforts, their numbers are seriously depleted, and they are losing the conflict. On the orders of Master Yoda, they are forced to retreat to their respective ships and flee for safety. Unable to return to Coruscant due to the betrayal of the clones, Yoda and Mace take Anakin to the Polis Massa medical facility, where he'll undergo hours of surgery to be fitted with the latest cybernetic limbs to replace those he had lost. Though he is lucky not to be burned by the lava, he is even more lucky to have survived. Yoda communicates to all known surviving Jedi that the time of exile is now. They need to regroup, rebuild and heal. The galaxy is engulfed in true darkness and the Sith are in control. Until the time is right, they need to disappear. On overhearing the broadcast, Anakin comes clean about his secret marriage to Padme and the child they are expecting. Although against the Jedi Code, they simply cannot afford to lose anyone else, and they certainly cannot allow the child of the Chosen One to be found by the Sith. For these reasons, the Jedi also agree to bring Padme to their location of exile for protection on the planet of Dagobah. In the aftermath of the battle, Obi-Wan stands alone. He has only partly succeeded by ending the war, but he has failed to defeat the Sith, instead becoming one himself. The Jedi Order is all but destroyed and the galaxy is ruled by fear. Haunted by the knowledge of what he had become, he knows he will never be able to undo what he has done, and his story will forever be told as one of betrayal. As the Clone Wars comes to an end, Supreme Chancellor Palpatine seizes the opportunity to solidify his power and control over the galaxy. In the wake of the Jedi betrayal and the perceived need for greater security, Palpatine begins to make sweeping changes. He begins by dissolving the Galactic Senate, claiming that the corruption and inefficiency of the body made it impossible for him to effectively govern. In its place, he establishes the Galactic Empire, with himself as the absolute ruler. With the support of the military and the people who have grown tired of the war and corruption of the Republic, Palpatine's power grab largely goes unchallenged. He justifies his actions by claiming that the Empire will bring stability and order to the galaxy, and that his rule will be a benevolent dictatorship guided by the principles of security and prosperity. The remaining Jedi, who are now scattered and in hiding, know that Palpatine's true goal is to crush any opposition and consolidate his power, and that they will be among his first targets. They must now navigate a galaxy where the dark side is in control and where the fate of the galaxy hangs in the balance. The galaxy is now in the grip of darkness, and the Jedi must find a way to restore balance and bring hope to a galaxy ruled by fear.